Government contracting is not hard. What's hard is doing government contracting without a system to actually win and bid government contracting. That's the hard part. So my name is DeMar J. Mayo. I'm an owner of a government contracting company that was started in 2024. In 2025 specifically, I went over 18 government contracts. And now in 2026, it is currently February 3rd, and I have won one government contract so far, 2 weeks into the year. And I have a couple that are kind of, ruminating a little bit to where I'm probably about to win. Just to give you a little bit more insight, I built a multi six-figure company doing government contracting all from home by partnering with companies, fulfilling contracts across the country, and not even actually having to do the physical work. Government contracting is very, very, very simple. Basically, what it is the government posts opportunities. We then find these opportunities. We partner with subcontractors to fulfill these opportunities. We create a proposal based on a quote that we get from these subcontractors, and then submit that proposal. Then once we submit the proposal, there's an award process. Then after that, it's pretty much just rinse and repeat, doing that over and over and over and over again. The government doesn't care who does the labor. The government just wants the actual work done. So yes, we can find companies to partner with to do the physical labor, and we're just the prime contractor. It's our contract, and we're subcontracting the work out. The government just wants the job done, and the government understands the value that companies like I have, and companies that, if you're interested in the government contracting, what your company will be, the value place is we are essentially bridging the gap between other small businesses and the government. You don't really need connections. You don't need to know anybody. You don't need to already have been in the government. You don't need a clearance or anything like that. But enough yapping. Let's get into what government contracting is from start to finish, how to get started, and then kind of go into systems a little bit, how to find some of these contracts, and then go into the system needed to bid these contracts on a consistent basis to actually see results and make, $5,000 to $15,000 a month. So let's go over here. So first, to get started with government contracting, the only thing you need to get started is an LLC and a physical address tied to that LLC. You can literally sign up and get an LLC today. The moment that it's complete and accepted by your state, you can pretty much literally sign up on SAM.gov that day or the next day. Once you sign up on SAM.gov, that process takes about an hour to an hour and a half. After you complete your SAM.gov registration, you get something called a cage code. Once you get your cage code, you are now able to bid on government contracts. From LLC completion to cage code, that's only about 1 to 2 weeks. So it's not a long time that you have to wait either. This is why I say this is one of the most lucrative things that anyone really over the age of 18 can pretty much do, because all you need is an LLC to do it. So after you get your LLC and your physical address, you register on SAM.gov. Like I mentioned, the government posts opportunities. Now, the government posts opportunities across a plethora of different categories. You have HVAC maintenance. You have elevator repairs. I had a sewer level repairing type contract. Literally multiple things. I even seen a contract for sheep shearing, which is essentially giving sheep haircuts. So again, government posts opportunities, and then what we do is we identify the opportunities that we want to pursue. Now, there's of course strategies and different methods to the madness that you can use to pursue contracts, but in general, you can pretty much bid on anything that you want. So once we actually identify the type of contract we want to work on, let's say that, for example, it's an HVAC contract and they're going to replace a 3-ton HVAC unit. And they need it done within a month. So once we find that contract, it will have exactly what the government wants for that contract, which is also called the scope of work, which pretty much maps out word by word, line by line, in extreme detail exactly what the government wants. Then there will also be a location that's connected to that contract and that scope of work where they need the work done. So let's say this contract is in Seattle, Washington. So we found an HVAC contract to replace a 3-ton unit in Seattle, Washington. So now I'm going to try to find subcontractors to partner with to fulfill this contract in Seattle, Washington. So again, with it being an HVAC replacement type of contract, I'm going to look for HVAC companies in that area. Once you actually find your subcontractors, you then contact them and essentially give them the information from the government contract, specifically the scope of work and what the government is wanting. Now, you do not need to be an expert in this field. So with this being HVAC, I've never changed an HVAC system in my life. I've never, did anything with HVAC, but I've bid and won on HVAC contracts. So you don't need to know what it is or how to do it. You just need to understand how to communicate, have the gift of gab when you're talking to these subcontractors, so you're able to communicate exactly what it is that the government is asking for. Once you're able to communicate that and you send them a quote request via email, they would essentially get back to you with a price after sending that quote request. Now, some subcontractors require a site visit before giving you a quote. Now, when it comes to the site visit, it's pretty much just them going on site to see it in person, so that way they're able to give you the most accurate quote possible. So after the site visit, let's say a few days pass, they give you a quote. Once they actually give you a quote, you now have enough information to actually start crafting your proposal to submit to the government. Now, there are different requests that the government has depending on the type of contract it is. You have requests for proposal, you also have requests for quote, and then requests for information. Now, request for proposal, that usually has a requirement of a technical capability, price, and past performance. Now, with past performance, all past performance is basically references from your subcontractor. So in this HVAC example, what the government would want is they usually ask something along the lines of, please give me references from previous contracts that you completed in similar magnitude of this contract. So with this contract being a 3-ton HVAC replacement, they would want past performance or references from the subcontractor you're using, and then giving references for contracts, or even, it could even be personal work, not commercial work, that is very similar or exact to the contract that we're trying to bid on. And what they want is, the person's name, their information, the how much that contract was, things like that. Now, another thing that will go into a request for proposal is technical capability. Now, what technical capability is basically just your capability of completing the contract in its entirety, and they want you to map that out and detail that in your proposal. So it's an HVAC 3-ton, it's a replacement of an HVAC 3-ton unit, right? They want to know and understand how you're going to approach this contract and how you're going to complete it in its entirety. Now, what you want to do is ask the subcontractor, hey, how do you plan to, complete this work? And they'll kind of give you a breakdown, right? And it's usually just a very simple or a very simplified version of how they're going to do it, right? Because you don't really need that information. And what I like to do is use our best friend AI, take some of that information, put it into ChatGPT or Claude, and then have them craft a capability statement for me based on what the subcontractor gave me on how they plan to actually fulfill the contract. That's your technical capability. Then you have price. And all price is let's say they charge $10,000, just whatever amount that you're going to put on top of that contract. So let's say you only want to make $3,000 on this contract. So now we're going to submit the proposal at $13,000. We have our price, our past performance, our subcontractor gave us their references and how they're going to complete the contract. So we're going to submit it at $13,000. Now, after getting all that, your documents, prices, you submit the proposal. Most proposals are submitted via email. 10% of the time they're submitted via portal sometimes, but most of the time it's via email. Now, when it comes to actually being awarded a contract, there are usually different evaluation criteria. A lot of times the evaluation criteria are based on, again, the price, past performance, and technical capability. Now, I would say in majority of total small business contracts, I would say maybe 70 to 80%. Don't quote me on that exact number. This is just like a number that I'm coming up with in my head. But about 70 to 80% of the contracts will be awarded based on lowest price. So If you submit a contract and you're able to complete it in its entirety, you have the lowest price, and your past performance checks out, you will win that contract. Now, let's say it's based on value. Now, that what that means is that being the lowest price isn't the only determining factor to getting awarded a contract. And I've actually lost a contract like that where I was like $30 lower than another company, but they ended up going with that other company because it was based on value and not price. Now, again, like I mentioned, most contracts are based on price. So again, if you're able to find a subcontractor, you have the lowest price that you submit, and their past performance checks out, you will win the contract whether you won 0 contracts or 50. Now, after the actual submission process, it usually takes about 3 to 4 weeks for the government to respond back and actually give an award. Now, that's just an average. Some contracts, they take 3 months to actually give the award. Some contracts, I've gotten a contract where I've submitted it and I've gotten the award letter, 3 days later, 4 days later. It's all a range, but I would say on average it's about a month. Now, after you submit it, you get your contract award, whether you win, or let's say 3 or 4 weeks go by, you get your contract award, and then you move forward or you don't move forward if you win or lose, right? Now, what I like to tell my clients and my students is that there's pretty much a win rate of about 5 to 10% of the contracts that you submit every single month. So, if you submit 10 contracts, you only can really expect to win 1, but even then, if we go on the lower end of that average, 5%, 5% of 10 isn't even 1. So you can't expect to win a contract if you're not consistently bidding over and over and over again. What a lot of people do is they'll submit a proposal here, they'll be here on the flow chart, and then they'll get married to it. And they really want to win it because they spent time on it and they developed a relationship with the subcontractor everything is just going so well. And you probably talk to the contractor officer on the phone and you like, man, I really want to win this contract. Then a month go by and you lose it. Because again, just because you talking to the contractor officer and things are just la la la, peaches and cream, doesn't mean you're going to win the contract. So you have to have the mindset of consistently submitting. Once you submit the contract, you move on instantly. Just move on to the next one. Now, what I say is that minimum, you should be submitting between 20 and 25 proposals a month consistently to consistently be getting wins on a month after month basis. Now, that's not to say that you're guaranteed to win every month. But again, with the average being 5 to 10% over the course of a long period of time, you'll see, let's say you submitted 300 proposals for the year, you'll probably win between 20 and 30, maybe 17 and 30. But again, the average is around 5 to 10%. And that's not to say you can't win on your 4th contract. And then that's also not to say it might take 37 contracts to win your first one. But again, the average is 5 to 10%. Now, let's say you win a contract, right? Next is project management. And all project management is literally just making sure that the contract is going as planned. That's all it is. And you want to stay as organized as possible. So, for example, in the HVAC example, coordinating with the HVAC company, hey, you guys are supposed to start on Friday. I'm just, calling to make sure you guys still be there Friday, 9 a.m. sharp. Yes, sir. We'll definitely be there Friday, 9 a.m. sharp. Is this the address? They confirm the address. I say, yes, is that address? Then we're good to go. Then I coordinate with the government. Hey, government, my contractors, they'll be there Friday, 9 a.m. sharp. I just want to make sure everything is solidified and we're still good to go to come at that point. They say yes. Boom. Perfect. That's it. Now, some contracts, there's a continuation of contracts, like maintenance contracts where you're doing it monthly or, quarterly or things like that. And you have to stay on top of dates and making sure that you're reaching out to the government when, that quarterly date is coming out, when you're supposed to be, maintaining the HVAC unit. You're supposed to do that quarterly, so you need to make sure you're on top of your subcontractors to come every single quarter. Now, even prior to some of the contracts starting, some contracts require a pre-construction meeting, which is literally just a meeting talking about the contract, how they want it to go, expectations, things like that. It's very simple. It's not daunting. It's literally just a regular meeting where you're talking about the contract. And like I said, after that, there's project management. And then after the project management portion, it's pretty much simple from there. And completing this entire system on a consistent daily, weekly, monthly basis should lead to you making $5,000 to $10,000 a month, really $5,000 to $15,000 a month, and that's on the low end. This is on if you're doing this as like a part-time thing. You know, you're doing 3 to 4 hours a day. If you really lock in and treat this like a job, this is something you can make $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a month easily from home, not even have to do the physical work. Now, again, to go back to the system of things, once you identify your contract, you find a subcontractor, you create your proposal, you submit your proposal. Then once you submit your proposal, you want to restart the system. You don't want to submit your proposal, then get married to a contract, and then wait. It's submit proposal, identify. Submit proposal, identify. Submit proposal, then go back to identifying. Because again, the game is submitting as many proposals, contracts, bids as possible. It's a numbers game. It's like sales. The more you get what you put out, the more output that you have, the better results you will have. I hope this was helpful. I hope this kind of gave you guys a better perspective on government contracting and how it works, and pretty much the system that's needed to actually be successful in government contracting. If this is something you're interested in, you want to learn a little bit more, you are interested in some coaching, some insight, some guidance, I will leave my Calendly link below to schedule a sales call. I will also have my Instagram and my TikTok if you'd like to shoot me a DM or shoot a comment on a video or something like that. So yes, appreciate you guys watching. Book a call below if you're interested, and let's talk business.